Circles going around. Good morning, and welcome to Candid Conversations with me, Linda Burhans, where we interview fabulous people doing fabulous things in our communities. And today I have Dr. Jennifer Stelter with me. So good to see you, Doc.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. You're going to be on my radio show in a couple of weeks. But today we're going to talk about essential oils.
Absolutely.
So you are the oil doctor?
That is correct.
All right. So explain to me well, first of all, how did you get into the essential oil part?
Absolutely. So I'm a clinical psychologist by trade. And, my first half of my career was working in mental health. And then my second half of my career, I transitioned to working in dementia care. And as I was getting into the space of dementia care, I really wanted to use my knowledge and expertise from mental health and trying to really educate caregivers on using all kinds of non-pharmacological tools with the people that they care for. And part of that was, using aromatherapy. And I actually got introduced to it myself more on a clinical level with my business partner. Her name is Jessica Ryan. She's an aromatherapist and biologist. And we actually met each other in the senior living space. She was presenting on aromatherapy. And as I was watching her, I said, this is the tool I don't have. And I didn't know much about it myself when I started to learn about it. I knew, when you go to the spa and you get a massage, they say, would you like any essential oil use? And I'm like, sure, why not?
Whatever. Yeah.
And so, when we started talking to her and she said, there are thousands of clinical trials out there supporting the use of essential oils for all kinds of ailments and challenges. And I said, what about dementia care? And she said, absolutely there is. And so we started to dig and read and things like that. And so I actually started to use them personally with myself, my children, my husband, and found tremendous results. And I said, okay, now that I've tried it, I'm willing to try it with my patients. Right. And so I brought it into our senior living space of where I was consulting and trialed it in a couple of memory care facilities and had tremendous results. We saw, residents, their appetite increasing. So they were eating foods that they were enjoying. We saw, a lot of, decrease in sundowning behaviors. We saw more focus and attention. I mean, it just was unbelievable. And then at the company I was consulting for, it kind of spread like wildfire. Everyone wanted to use it. So we used it in a wide variety of programs throughout the company and found great success. And then from there, really incorporating into the tools I was using for the model of care that I created in dementia care and things like that. And so that's kind of the history behind it. We've just had so much success with it, and people love to learn about it.
So why are they effective versus 4,000 medications that we're giving everybody?
Absolutely. They've been around for centuries, right? It's just in America, we're now getting used to using them or learning more about them. They're so effective because the way that they are made, right? So they're extracted from plants and trees, and the molecules are so small in molecular size that they actually cross the blood-brain barrier in our brain.
Oh, wow.
And so, with a lot of medications, medications don't do that. And so, for example, when you have a bacterial infection, you'll get an antibiotic from the doctor. You have a viral infection, they tell you, so sorry, go home, rest it, and get better, that way. But with essential oils, you can use them for bacterial infections, for viral infections, things like that, and all kinds of things, mood, memory. There's been a lot of studies that show that they help with so many different systems in our body. Jessica always loves to say, there's always an oil for it, right? If you had an issue, there's an oil for it. And so what's great is because they're able to cross that blood-brain barrier. They're able to get to places where medication can't go. The other reason why they're so effective and why they're so powerful is because, one, you need less, rather than more. And so unfortunately, a lot of medications, you tend to need more of it for it to be effective, especially if you're taking it long-term. Or with essential oils, you'll stay at the same dose all the time. The other thing is that they have very minimal side effects, where with medications, we know they upwards of mountainous side effects, right? So with essential oils, really the side effects that come along with it is if you're not using it properly. So one is if you use it topically, like on your skin, if you don't do a test patch to see, if you react to it and you
Right.
just using it, you could react to it. And the reason people react to it is because they don't use a base oil or a carrier oil.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I don't mean to interrupt you, but because I know people listen to this, there's all different kinds of essential oils. I mean, you can buy essential oils in a dollar store.
You can.
We don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. Correct.
Explain the difference and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, about close to 90% of all oils on the market are adulterated or contaminated. And what that means is, let me kind of pull a bottle out here for you. So when you have an essential oil, for it to be 100% pure, you only need 10% of the actual oil in the bottle, and 90% could be whatever the company wants to fill it with. Right. And the reason that they cut it, we call, is because they can sell it cheaper to the consumer. So when you see it on the shelf at your local markets, your dollar stores, that kind of stuff, it's unfortunately contaminated because you can't sell a pure oil for that cheap. Right. And so they broker it, it's what it's called, and then they sell it to, several, thousands of stores, and then they can sell it for more, but so where you want to make sure that you're getting your oils are from a company that specifically says they get them from their land's indigenous. Okay. And what that means is they actually go to that land and they extract that oil, they test it, and then they can bottle it and shelf it, So you want to make sure that that's, where it needs to be. So for example, like frankincense is found in Somalia, right? So you want to make sure that in the description, it says it's from Somalia, right? It's not from, the state of Illinois, right? Right, yeah. Right, exactly. And then you're going to know that you're getting a pure oil. And the problem is that essential oils are not FDA approved, and they never will be, because when you grow plants and trees every season, they're a little bit different in how their makeup is, because it all depends on the soil, the temperature, the weather, right? Because that changes every season, especially with global warming. You just never know what you're going to get. So they can't FDA approve it because it's not the same exact constituents in every single bottle. But, the clinical trials are there to show that they work. And so unfortunately, there are companies out there that will say 100% pure essential oil, and they only need 10% of that bottle to be actually pure. And so when people use oils, sometimes they say, well, it didn't work for me, or, I had a reaction. Well, it could be the type of oil that you're using or the brand of oil that you're using, because it's contaminated. And so it is filled with stuff that you don't want to put on your skin or that you don't want to smell. It's going to make you sick to your stomach or sick, whatever it be. So it's really important that you use that pure oil that's grown from their land's indigenous.
Well, a friend said to me a while back, if you don't want to use any essential oil if you can't consume it.
Well, there are oils out there that, there's recommendations. There are some, a lot of oils you can either consume, you can wear topically, or you can inhale, right? And then there are some oils they say that you don't want to ingest because of the makeup of the system and things like that. So it's not necessarily true in that respects, but I definitely would say that the key marker is making sure that where you get your oils is where they are extracting their oils from.
Yeah. And so what kind of oils do you use?
So I use doTERRA here at the Dementia Connection Institute. NeuroEssence, that's our executive team here. We all use doTERRA. And the reason we use doTERRA and why I was actually turned on by them is because they use third-party testing. So they go through the Aromatic Plant and Research Center, APRC, and make sure every single oil is tested to make sure it is 100% pure. And if any contaminants are found in it, as they are kind of extracting it from the plant and they're bottling it, then they throw it out, right? And what they do is at the bottom of it, there's a lot number. So one, that's been tested. Two, you can look up that lot number on the APRC website, and you can see exactly each, constituent in that. Because there's, lots of constituents in each bottle that make up the oil itself. And so you can see that, it is 100% pure. And so for me, I felt safe giving it to my patients, of course, my children, my husband, myself. And so that's really why I, really trust in the doTERRA brand.
Okay. So my mom is sundowning. I don't know what to do. How do I get started? What kind of oil do I use? How much do I use?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say if you're going to start with any oil specific to dementia care, you definitely want to use lavender. Okay. Lavender is an easy oil. It has a very minimal side effects, meaning that most people use it all the time. It's a nice kind of flowery scent if you do like that scent. And it's been the most clinically trialed. And so we know that it's effective. And so with sundowning specifically, you typically have an average time of day that, that person sundowns. What you want to do is you want to start about 30 minutes prior diffusing it into the air if you want to do it aromatically. And you definitely want to do it aromatically because we want to play off the limbic system of the brain. And so in the limbic system of our brain, it houses two really important organs. One is our amygdala, which generates our emotions, and the other is the hippocampus, which generates our memories. So when we are inhaling an essential oil, it's going into that blood-brain barrier, right? Crossing that, going into the limbic system of the brain, and it's helping our emotions and our memories. So it helps relax the person, and all of its central nervous system is affected. And it happens within 22 seconds is when it starts.
Wow.
And the whole body is surfeit within 30 minutes. So we talk about some people use medication to calm the person down, and that could take upwards of 30 minutes just to start working. So what do you do in those 30 minutes when that person is, agitated, wandering, maybe aggressive,
crying, whatever, right?
With lavender, it works like that. It's beautiful. If that person if they don't have anosmia, meaning that they haven't lost their smell and they can still smell it.
Yeah.
And if they don't like the scent of lavender, you can use other relaxing oils like cedarwood. It's more woodsy. Rosemary is more herby. So depending on their preference, right? But if they do have anosmia, which is very common with Alzheimer's disease, it doesn't matter the scent of the oil then. Maybe as the caregiver, you care because you're the one smelling it. Right. But as long as it's a relaxing oil, you definitely want to use that. Now, you can do other ways if you don't want to diffuse into the air. As I was mentioning, you can do it topically. So what you want to do is use a base oil. And what that means is you can mix it with coconut oil, jojoba oil, almond oil, and you want to do a 1-to-10 ratio, meaning 1 drop of lavender to 10 drops of that base oil. You mix it together and then you apply it. You can apply it around the pulse point areas here, the neck, so the person can still smell it, like where on our wrist area, right? And so just very similar to where we put our perfume, ladies, right?
I have this little bottle that you can put essential oils in. There's a roller.
Yes, you can do roller too.
Like roll it on your wrist or whatever. It's so cool and it's so handy.
Yes. So doTERRA does make them in roller bottles, which are really nice. And they're already blended with that base oil, so you don't have to do it yourself. I always recommend a test patch first for 24 hours just to make sure that there's no irritation or rash. If there is, maybe up the base oil, maybe there's not enough because you really need only a very small amount of the actual essential oil itself. And then the other way that you can do it is we have what's called personal diffuser dots. So they're little circles, and you basically put a couple of drops onto the circle itself, and you could stick it to the lapel area, around the sweater. So when they're walking around the house or the facility,
that's fabulous
with them. Yeah. Absolutely.
I didn't know about. Did you know about this one too? This is you just fill it up and
Yeah, nasal inhalers. Yeah, you can do that too. Now, if someone's progressing through the disease, they might find those a little weird or scary. So if they're in the earlier stages, they might respond to the nasal inhaler. But
my girlfriend said she keeps one in her car because her mom many times gets agitated when they're in the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then she said she just gives her a little bit and she's fine.
Yes. Yeah. Because it works so quickly. It's amazing. And there's lots of side benefits. We always say that here in the Institute, side benefits. So if you use lavender essential oil for calming, you're going to have 34 other health benefits that the person's getting by just breathing that in. And so you're getting all these other benefits, which is wonderful.
But how do you know? I guess it's a whole education. I mean, so let's say I have allergies.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know which essential oil could help me?
Right. And so with allergies, for example, if you are allergic to, certain kinds of flowers or things like that, then you'd want to avoid those oils. But what's great is that if, like I mentioned before, if you don't like the scent, or maybe you are allergic to, let's say, lavender, then you'd want to choose a different oil that does the same thing.
But how do you know who does what?
Yeah. So there's some great resources out there. So a couple of resources that you might want to go to, and definitely, Amazon carries a lot of these. Let's see, Scott Johnson, I think his name is. He wrote a few books on essential oils when you look at the content in there, it actually goes over which oil works for what.
Okay.
Or there's another book out there which I really like, and I think I have it here. I don't, but it's called Modern Essential Oils. And so that book, actually, you can look up your issue and it will tell you all the oils that you can use.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So that's nice too. You can look it up by kind of challenge or ailment. It will tell you what oils you want to use, or you can look up the oil and it will tell you which ailments you can.
And how do you know how often to use it?
So that's a great question. So essential oils are actually processed like food in our system. And so you want to use them every 4 hours. And so when you're using it topically every 4 hours, if you ingest every 4 hours, but if you're diffusing in the air, you can diffuse it up to 10 hours or most diffusers, and it will just be a continuous flow. Especially if you're using it for sleep, we want to make sure that you're diffusing throughout the whole night. And so there is a button on your diffuser that is intermittent and means that it will keep going through the whole night until the water runs out. You want to do that for your sleep, because you don't want to just put it on for 4 hours, because once the body has processed it, you'll wake up then, right? And that's right. So
that makes sense.
About every 4 hours.
Yeah, and sleep is a really big issue for caregivers, for sure.
Absolutely.
So if they could just take that one little thing and try a diffuser and try some lavender, start somewhere.
Yes.
I always say start somewhere, and if you have good success with that, then you can go further. Then you can see what else you can use it for, or maybe what you could use it instead of.
Right. And it's really important to work with people that know what they're doing, so especially if you want to become educated, here at the Institute, we educate on aromatherapy a lot. And because there are certain oils you don't want to mix, especially for those who are on a lot of medication. I know our seniors, they tend to, those medications add up as they get older. And there's just certain essential oils you want to completely avoid because of the interaction between the oil and then the medications that you're on. So
that's really good too.
Yeah.
So what if somebody goes to their doctor and the doctor says, I don't deal with essential oils. Where do they go?
Yeah. So, definitely check us out here at NeuroEssence at the Dementia Connection Institute. Resources, books, a lot of holistic doctors do use essential oils. And so you can, unfortunately, you can look to see if your insurance covers that. They may or may not, but looking up holistic doctors too. I think that a lot of doctors are transitioning towards, understanding more Eastern medicine practices, and they're less kind of poo-pooing it, if you will. But, you still have doctors that are very strict in Western medicine. And so part of it is, I've talked to a lot of doctors and they'll say, I can't prescribe it. Essential oils. It's not covered by insurance, so they're so used to what they've been taught in medical school, right? And what their ethics are. And they have to provide what works. And if they know that a medication works, they're going to prescribe it, right? Yeah. Where with essential oils, it's not FDA approved. So for them, they can't necessarily prescribe it and say, this will be your only treatment, right? So I get that they're kind of their hands are bound, right? But you can move towards the holistic doctors. Chiropractors often use them. Some physical therapists use them.
Yeah.
And then you have companies like ours that kind of specialize in it as well.
Well, it's very interesting. Probably about 1.5 years ago, my cholesterol was up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I love my doctor. But my doctor wanted me to take a statin. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to take a statin because I feel these days statins like the Oprah show. You get a statin, you get a statin, you get a statin. Yeah. So I never filled the prescription. Mm-hmm. And I did a little research and I started taking more garlic. Mm-hmm. And I started eating oatmeal every morning for breakfast. Nice. And I went back after 6 months and she goes, boy, that statin's really helping you. I go, no, I didn't do the statin. She goes, well, whatever you're doing is working. Continue to do that. But we have to, we have to trust our gut.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to look at something a little bit different because I think too many medications are prescribed too much.
Yes.
People are going to 3 doctors and no one's talking to the other one. Mm-hmm. And we're wondering why mom is miserable.
Right. It's so important. Yeah, that we're educated, that we know what our options are outside of medication. And that's, here at the Institute, we want to make sure that our caregivers are educated as much as possible, because you do deserve to know what are all the options, whether it is medication, whether other tools that you can use, especially in dementia care. There's so many non-pharmacological tools you can use that we want to make sure you have choices. And then you decide, this is what's best for my mom, my dad, I know that, I want to try them, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, just take a try. Take a try. Just try one thing.
Right. Exactly.
That's what I always say to everybody. Just try one thing. And if you find that works, well, then you can go a little further. I'm not telling you to go off all your medication. I'm just telling you to try.
Right.
And especially for the caregivers, because you know what happens? The caregiver is so busy taking care of their loved ones that they're not taking care of themselves at all. Exactly. They don't even have any prescriptions, because they're just worried about all mom's prescriptions.
Yeah, and what's wonderful about essential oils is you can use mom or dad's essential oils for you, right? It's multi-purpose, which is great. So
it's easy to get.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really trying. Jessica and I have talked a lot, and we've been talking to folks, in government and things like that. We really want to push the policy to get essential oils covered by insurance.
Yeah.
And really all of these tools for dementia care that we preach about here at the Institute, because they're necessary, they're needed. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they are actually recommending aromatherapy. They're recommending these other non-pharmacological tools. So why aren't they covered by insurance if they're recommended by CMS, right? So I do know that in New York, Blue Cross Blue Shield has, if you have the specific insurance, they have a wellness benefit that cover, you can use your wellness money towards anything, including doTERRA essential oil specifically. But, it's not widespread. So how can we get, Blue Cross Blue Shield to be covered in, cover oils and other tools in all states and other insurance carriers, right? So we're really trying to push this policy, and we'll kind of see where it goes. So
yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed,
right?
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
What's the last thing you'd like our listeners to hear today?
I would just definitely say, take care of yourself, right? The title here, Be Healthy, Be You, is, as you mentioned, Linda, take control of your health, because you only get one of them, right? You only get one life. And so with that, it's, you want to make sure that you're investing in your education around what's healthy for you. Become educated and decide what is right for you, right? And doctors are there. They're great resources in terms of guidance, education, but make sure that you are on the forefront of that education so you can make an informed decision.
Yeah, because it's hard. Sometimes we just get in a slump, and we stop taking care of ourselves because we're so inundated with all the responsibilities we have taking care of somebody else.
Right.
I just heard this week about another one of my caregivers died before the person they were taking care of. And we don't want that to happen.
Absolutely.
We want us all to live as long and healthy as we can, and without a lot of drugs, hopefully. Well, it was great having you today. I'll put all your information in the comments for everybody to see. And I look forward to seeing you on the radio show in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate your time.
Have a delicious day.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.